messing with some raw dudes, wrestling, talking, raw views, previews, recaps, and interviews. Definition of professional, tell me what you expected though. Facts are checked when information's collected, yo. We body slamming all these wrestling brands, but of course that's the case when A&T's on hand. We going head to head, this ain't a ratings war. Now's your chance to chat with Steven, what you waiting for?
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Raw Views. My name is Steven and today we're talking NXT and AEW, and what a night it was. We had all sorts of stuff trending last night. We have Tully Blanchard wrestling again in a couple of weeks. We have a explosive barbed wire death match set for Revolution, and we had a very potentially scary situation trending last night that luckily was just untrue. Kyle O'Reilly's okay, and that's really all I'm going to say about it. I think it's just one of those moments where a fan thought they saw something they didn't. They tweeted about it. The internet exploded about it. But luckily, he's okay, and that's really what we should be focusing on with this, and stop trying to point fingers and blame and all that nonsense and foolishness. But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's jump into what my favorite thing was last night. And it's the story of the Undisputed Era. You shouldn't be surprised that my favorite thing from a wrestling show is story related, because if you know me by now, I enjoy stories in wrestling. So again, the Undisputed Era last night, we kick off the show. Kyle O'Reilly comes out, calls out Adam Cole, says he wants to punch him in the face. Roddy Strong comes out. He tries to just dismiss Roddy altogether. Balor comes out. We get a beatdown from the Brand. Sets up the main event. Throughout the night, you see some arguing between Strong and O'Reilly. This is one of those NXT shows where I think they absolutely nailed it. If you look at the things I look for in a wrestling show, it is an overarching story throughout the night in which everything else happens underneath that, right? So we had the main story of the night, and for the first time in a long time, really NXT hasn't really had that like it did last night. And last night they delivered. I thought O'Reilly did really good in his part. Strong is playing his role very well as the unsure, what should I do? I'm just trying to be a peacekeeper here between the two, while O'Reilly doesn't care about anything but wanting an answer from Cole and just punching him in the face. That's all he cares about. That's all he wants. Main event rolls around. Really, really good main event match, overshadowed by a really, really good ending segment. You have Adam Cole running down, just completely destroying Kyle O'Reilly. Hits him with a pump kick, hits him with a brainbuster on the stairs. He leaves, comes back, lays out Balor afterwards. By the way, Dunn gets the pinfall over Balor in this match, but Cole comes back around the back side of the ring, opposite the ramp, to close the show, laying out Finn Balor and him standing over Balor, title in hand. Now you have to ask yourself, where is this going to lead? Of course, as I mentioned on my TakeOver recap show, if you didn't check that out, you can go back. That dropped on Monday. Then I had my Raw show, and then yesterday was my Elimination Chamber prediction show. But on my TakeOver recap show, I broke down, I believe we are going to get a short-term Cole and Balor feud for the title, but ultimately this is all about the story of Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Again, NXT did so well with all of it, even to go as far as the fact that they made sure last night Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly didn't even wear the same Undisputed Era gear. I tweeted out pictures of it. Adam Cole had the black and white gear. Kyle O'Reilly had the red and black gear. Of course, one of our writers over at Wrestling News World wrote an article about 5 things that could happen. One of them being a NWO Classic versus NWO Wolfpack style faction feud. I could really see that happening. I would be all for that happening. But Adam Cole last night absolutely stole the show, in my opinion, and he didn't say a word. It is the most interested I've been in Adam Cole in some time, and he's a fantastic performer. That was the best thing I saw of the night. However, close behind it, Kenny Omega may have had my favorite Omega segment of his on AEW programming. Let me get the negatives out of the way first, and then so I can just gush on the positives here. I didn't like him going to the school thing. I didn't think it worked. I get why they did it. Not for me. I don't think, I don't know. I just wasn't entertained by it. I don't really like the stipulation they used for their upcoming Revolution match. I'm not a fan of barbed wire explosion, I don't know, death-defying, no, let me get it right. Explosive barbed wire death match. Yes. I get why they're doing it, because they need to write off Moxley, who's probably going to go spend time with his beautiful, soon-to-be wife and child combination. However, we have this set up, but let's rewind back, because there's a lot of positives here. Omega's promo, the intensity in that promo, what he realizes he must do to vanquish the demon that is Jon Moxley, was great storytelling. Again, I go back to storytelling here, because a lot of people are going to focus, a lot of other podcasts you listen to focus a lot about the in-ring work or the behind-the-scenes stuff of it all. Something I really focus on my show is talking about the actual storytelling here, because I believe it is one of, if not the most critical part of professional wrestling. Kenny Omega last night gets multiple segments, so I'm going to credit them for telling the story throughout the night. It is Kenny Omega. You first see him in the school. You then see him with the Bucks catching a beatdown with Don Callis and the Good Brothers backstage. So again, we are still shaping this Kenny Omega character, and we're making him so far away from where he started in AEW, and I love it. I really like this Kenny Omega character. He comes off as pompous, arrogant, better than thou, and you know what? If you're a guy like Kenny Omega, who many believe is the best wrestler in the world, that is exactly how he should act. He's an EVP. He's possibly the best wrestler in the world. He is your AEW champion, and he's a heel, and he's really, really good at it. He's very smug, but go back and watch it if you did not. So if you just watched NXT last night, go back and watch that Kenny Omega promo with Jon Moxley, regardless if you love death matches or not. It is worth it for the promo, because again, you added another layer to this Omega character, where he's been cocky, he's been arrogant, but now you see this side of him, this darker side of him, where he realizes, yes, I'm a great wrestler. I can't beat this guy in a wrestling match and him go away. I don't even know if I can beat him in a legitimate wrestling match, because the last time I had to beat him, I had to cheat to do it. So in order for me to truly get this guy away from me that I really don't want to face off with anymore, I have to do this death match. So again, love the story behind it, just not a death match fan. I hope you can appreciate that. Are you excited for the death match? Let me ask you that. Is that something that you're into? I mean, as a kid, I really enjoyed ECW, but even like when we would, my cousin and I would ride our bikes up to the movie rental store, we wouldn't, rent a bunch of Japanese deathmatch videos. We would just, whatever WWE Greatest Hits or pay-per-view or WCW Halloween Havoc was available. So, yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Are you happy with the death match? Also, let me know below for the top of the show here. The NXT angle with the Undisputed Era, is this their best angle since Gargano and Ciampa? I believe it is, and I believe it has the possibility to be even better than Gargano and Ciampa, because I believe Cole and Kyle O'Reilly may be better performers with a better story to tell. So, on top of that, let's go ahead and move. I'm going to stick with AEW for a moment, because something that we all knocked collectively within the internet wrestling community was the women's division for AEW. And if you've been watching AEW in 2021, you've realized they've given them more time. They've moved their segment around on the card a little bit. And last night, Serena Deeb and Riho put on another very, very good women's wrestling match on AEW. That needs to be touted. We need to talk more about that. Why? Because we slammed them so hard for it. Kudos to AEW for giving the ladies more time. And for those ladies taking that time, kudos to them for delivering. Because I'm a believer that if you give them the time, they have to deliver. But if they do deliver, you have to continue to give them that time and possibly even more. And that goes for any performer, not just women's, not just men's, whoever. If you are showing out on television and you are delivering, you deserve that time. You might even deserve more of that time. NXT, on the other hand, we have another very good story. We have Austin Theory getting found. I really love the women's tag match here. It was very well done, a very good match. But again, you also have a secondary layer to this with Gargano trying to find Austin Theory, who is actually in a white van, which is kind of funny, but the old stereotype of a white van. Anyway, which was a callback because Loomis drove that van away with, I believe, Cameron Grimes in it at one time. But he finds Austin Theory. Candice gets so excited that he's been found that she leaves Indy in the ring, who's also excited to see Theory, but she gets rolled up. She takes the loss. Candice and Indy lose to who I've proclaimed Moonheart. If you like the name Moonheart, let me know on Twitter at @view_raw. I believe that should be the name of Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Moonheart. Trademark. WWE, if you want to pay me. I mean, I haven't actually trademarked it, so you probably don't need to pay me. Just shout me out on Twitter or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to stick with NXT for a moment because I'm going to transition right to their tag team, their big tag team segment, which I thought was a very, very good segment on the show. I don't believe NXT really had a down segment last night, outside of maybe Kushida and Russ, but that was a very good match that told a story with Bivens protecting his investment in Tyler Russ. But the Dusty Cup, the way they set up the Dusty Cup segment, where they had MSK come out first, they allowed them promo time, they challenged Birch and Lorcan, and they made clear what they wanted. They gave them the first entrance to let them, be their wild, hyper, high energy selves, and I love it. Every time they step on the screen, my adrenaline just goes through the roof, and they're just energy. Like they if High Energy wasn't a tag team name, I would just name them High Energy. But after that, you then have the ladies come out, Candice and Raquel, who then have their upcoming opponents, Nia and Shayna, come into NXT. And there's just something about watching Shayna walk down an NXT ramp where you're just like, she's not going to lose. Because history says so. She is one of the most accomplished NXT stars in the history of NXT. So, she comes down, Nia comes down. All four of these ladies get their moment to shine on the microphone. All four of these ladies did very well, Nia included. I know we're not supposed to give Nia any credit at all ever in the history of anything involving professional wrestling, but she did well last night. I thought all four ladies did very well last night. I thought they set the match up well, and I thought they made it feel like a big deal. I am fully sold on Shayna and Nia defending these titles against Raquel and Kai. I only asked myself, why didn't they do this sooner? Because it came off so well. But yeah, big fan of that. We get a whole joke, which, it was gonna happen. We're gonna do this because we made a trend. I mean, it's our fault. It's our fault, guys. I'm just letting you know. If you talked about Hole after she said Hole, I did. It's our fault. It's our fault. WWE's gonna run this until we're so sick of seeing it. But I digress. It's kind of funny. Sticking with tag teams though, let's move on over. Bucks take on PNP last night. Very good match. I didn't love the end of it. There's something about AEW tag matches that I appreciate what they do, and they're mega athletic, and they do things in these matches that is simply incredible, right? But they break so many of the rules of tag team wrestling to do it that I don't enjoy it as much as other tag team matches. And I hope you get what I'm trying to say here, because I'm not trying to take a shot here. I'm just giving you my opinion on what's going on here. But again, the story here is the Inner Circle. I tweeted before the show, I don't want the Bucks to lose. I think there's a better story in the Bucks winning and then losing to Jericho and MJF. The reason why is you're going to set up this internal conflict between MJF and Jericho and PNP. And what that's going to do over these titles is that's going to be your catalyst to, finally break this faction apart. Sammy Guevara not being on the show, very interesting. My guess is you probably see him at Revolution. It wouldn't surprise me fully if he cost MJF and Jericho, and he brings PNP with him, leaving Jericho, MJF, Wardlow, and Hager as their own group. As I think through that a little bit, there's different ways they can go. I'm a big fan of the Bucks having the belts. I think they're the best tag team in the world. Although I think they break too many of the rules within the match for me to fully appreciate their matches as much as other people do, because it just doesn't bother other people like it bothers me, and that's fine. We all have different opinions on that, but I still think that when they step on stage, they look like stars. They have the big presentation. They have their gimmick down. They're incredible in the ring. I think the Bucks are stars, and I would personally prefer that those titles stay on them, as they are the best tag team in the world. Some other things last night. It gets announced Tully Blanchard will be stepping in the ring in a couple of weeks in a tag match with FTR versus Jurassic Express. It's going to be fine. I'm not one of those people that get upset over age stuff like a lot of other people do. A lot of other people get really upset if somebody over like 35 gets a push. Then it's, why are you pushing dinosaurs? Let Tully cash a check, man. Who cares? He's going to punch Marco a couple times. My least favorite part of AEW, OC beating Luther. You get OC a win. He's probably going to go to the ladder match with Cody, Pentagon, or was it Phoenix? Might have been Phoenix. But the Revolution ladder match to determine the number one contender for the TNT Championship match, you probably give OC a win there so that he can move on to that. I thought AEW as a whole presented a very good show. If you didn't watch it last night, you want to give AEW a spin, and you want to see a good show, that was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it anyway. NXT, on the other hand, extremely good show. One of my favorite NXT shows since they've been on cable. Actually, I think this is the best 7-day stretch NXT has had for their programming since they launched on cable. They have not had a more cohesive set of shows than they've had over the last 7 days. And as I think we probably touch on Brian Cage here. He powerbombed Sting, which set up a great meme opportunity. My only thoughts on this is I'm ready for this to push forward, because I want to see Darby needs to be separated from this. Let me take a step back from that. The TNT Championship needs to be separated from this. It is secondary to this feud that feels secondary to Sting versus Team Taz. So, when you look at how this all matters, right? It looks like it's Team Taz and Sting. Secondarily, it's Darby. And then tertiary, it is the TNT Championship. Where I feel like what they were trying to do here is make Darby and that championship seem more important by putting them with Sting and Brian Cage and this whole feud, where I feel like the title and the champion feel secondary to everything else going on. Again, I thought AEW was a good show. Over on NXT, trying to think if I missed anything. We did get some more story with Xia Li, Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter. Short little match with Carter and Casey winning. After the match, you get Lee putting some black marks on Casey's hand. So we'll see where that goes. I like the fact they are doing a story underneath the main women's title. I love the fact Toni Storm attacked Io Shirai at a photo shoot. I'm a big fan of whenever you use places outside of just backstage, locker room, parking lot, or ring. The more of those you can bring in, the more interest I typically have in the show. As far as anything else on NXT goes, I think that's it. Of course, they had to push Cross and Escobar back to next week. I don't know if it was a time thing. I don't know if they wanted to have that match really featured next week. Whatever the reason, I'm actually excited for it. I thought Cross also cut his best promo in NXT last night Very, very, very good promo. Overall, great night of wrestling last night. I have not much to complain about at all. I don't think many people should. I think both shows tried to tell some really good stories. I think both shows put on some really good in-ring work. And I think both shows had some really good promos. If you agree with me, let me know below by hitting the little thumbs up, dude. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share this. If you are enjoying a different style of podcast than everything else that's out there, share it. Let other people know that I'm out here, that I'm looking for the positives, that I'm talking about character development, that I'm talking about story development, and not just saying, oh my god, 67-year-old Tully's going to be in a match. Like, what are they? They're trying to kill the business. Or, let's blame WWE for everything wrong ever in the history of anything resembling professional wrestling. Okay? I'm not doing that. I feel like there's enough of that out there. If you want to go listen to that, there's plenty of channels. If you want to listen to somebody that looks at it from a logical or, a fan, opinionated, but actually looking at what's being presented perspective, hit me up. Subscribe. Follow me on Twitter @view_raw. Tomorrow will be my Dungeon of Doom Chronicle. You won't want to miss it. I take from the moment Kevin Sullivan defeats... Actually, I take it from Hulk Hogan joining WCW, because that is the real catalyst to the Dungeon of Doom even being created, all the way to the end where Kevin Sullivan loses a retirement match at Bash at the Beach. You're not going to want to miss it. Again, thank you everybody for making this first week back a relaunch on my own channel a success in my own eyes. Again, follow me on Twitter @view_raw. And until next time, be awesome.